Get your PFA on. Ow!
Like, you should have seen the quotes we have. They're amazing. Okay, so I'm sure there's more people coming on, but we have a nice group. We have 45 people here this morning, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to start today with a grounding exercise. The focus today with psychological first aid is also self-care. We've developed the training now during the time of COVID and this ongoing stress that we have, that we developed self-care. So could you go back a slide, Ileana? Thank you. No, the other way. Thank you. To our grounding exercise. So I want everybody to sit comfortably in your chair. And I'm sorry there's a delay. I apologize. But sit comfortably with your feet on the ground. If you can, in your chair, where you feel your feet grounded on the earth. We want you to be able to become aware of the fact that you are supported. Your feet are on Mother Earth. Mother Earth is what sustains us and holds us. We have a chair that we're sitting on where we can drop our weight. Let the weight go. Let the chair support your weight. Let your body let go and release. Your hands resting gently on your thighs, your shoulders and arms, just resting gently. Let go. You don't have to hold anything up. Your head and your neck there is an energy that is going up the back of your neck, up through the top of your head, and upward as if an energy up into the heavens and into the sky, so that your spine is upward, erect, but not rigid. Your face, soften your face. Soften your face. Your jaw. Soften your eyes. Let the lids just gently rest. If your eyes are open, your gaze can be just gently about 3 feet ahead of you and resting. As your body is supported and relaxed, become aware of your breath. The breath that naturally fills you, comes in and goes out. Let's take a few intentional breaths together. You take a breath in through your nose. Hold, 1, 2, out through your mouth. With the out breath longer than the in breath. Coming in, just hold for a count and then out. An intentional out breath so that it's releasing. Breathing in, hold. Just take a few more relaxed breaths together. Breathing in community. Breathing supported by the earth. Breathing together and relaxed and open. Softening your face and your hands. Letting go of your weight. And now be grateful for yourself. Give thanks to yourself for being here. For giving of your time, your heart, and your goodwill. Thank yourself. Thank yourself for all you do. Thank yourself for who you are. Gratitude for this moment. And now we'll just resume our natural breathing. You can let out a sigh. You can roll your neck around. Do a few neck rolls, a few shoulder rolls. Feeling yourself coming back into the room. Feeling your body coming alive, your breath, your face, your eyes. Ding dong. Thank you, everyone. If we're grounded in ourselves, if we are grounded in ourselves, we can be present for the others and to be present for what we will not just learn today, but what we're offering in the community, and always coming back to grounding ourselves and caring for ourselves. Okay, so if anyone wants to put in the chat how they felt with doing that exercise, or if you want to unmute yourself and just say a few things, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sometimes we have to pause. My name is Arlene.
Oh, hi, Arlene. Thank you. Yes, thank you for saying your name. Thank you, Arlene. Okay. All right. Thank you for participating. Good. People feel relaxed and present and connected to the earth. And reset. Oh, good. See, like the tree. Okay. Thank you all. We'll begin. So SBRN, by definition, here's our mission statement. There are some of our trainers who are on this training today. We're all volunteer, grassroots, community nonprofit. Wonderful that with grassroots, we work throughout the whole community, and we're dedicated to offering psychological first aid to support people to resiliently recover from crisis and trauma. We have a wide range of community partners. This is just an overview, but we're pretty well through our core responders. Our board are connected with all branches of mental health and faith and law enforcement, etc. So next. Okay. So I'll let Anthony give you our story. how we were formed, trained.
Hi, everyone.
Do you want
My name
to
is
share,
Anthony.
Anthony?
Sure. And so a lot of people question about how did we get here? Well, we were formed back in 2009 when we had a rash of suicides here in Santa Barbara County, actually on the east side of Santa Barbara. So we brought in Dr. Robert Macy, and he came down and he trained us in psychological first aid and post-traumatic stress management. It was a full, it was a lot of hours of training, but that training was, as you can tell, very useful. And from there, just the core of us got together and we created the Santa Barbara Response Network. We noticed that, there was a need in the community. We needed to find something that was not going to have restrictions to be able to help those who are in need, and especially during a crisis or, or a traumatic death. We developed a nice, strong response structure. We continue to do a lot of training, and we have a lot of community collaborations, like Gina just said, county OEM, the fire, police, community members, and Santa Barbara Response Network, like she said, is grassroots. So it definitely helps when you go out in the community to be able to serve your community, because you are there as a person. You're not there because you have to be there. You're there because you want to be there. And that makes a huge difference. We don't have, we have boundaries, but not boundaries like many organizations do, that they can only help so much and then they have to just drop or pass it over to somebody else. But we have a very good relationship with all the community members that we have helped, from the very first response all the way to the ones that we just recently did. We have that relationship with them. We talk to them, we say hello, we check in on them. That relationship begins and it stays strong. And that's one thing about Santa Barbara Response Network, is that we have the ability to do that. And, we're just, honestly, if you have a heart, then you're good for SBRN. If you don't have a heart, or you feel like you can't do this work, then it's okay too. Because sometimes this work does get a little difficult because of the things that we go through. But I guarantee you that the work that you will do, nobody can pay me enough personally to feel what I feel when I see somebody smile again. Because when we go in, it's when they're hurting the most. And that's, we take very good care of that. But when you see them smile again, after all the pain and the hurt, that's an amazing thing, and it's a blessing, and it's an honor for us to be there. So we take care of our relationships very, very well. Next slide.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, so just to give you an idea of some of the responses, probably all of the high profile responses that you've seen in the media or you've heard about, SBRN has been asked to assist. We assist, the school board, for instance, will call us if there's an event at the school, and we'll support their people. So we're like a secondary support. Sometimes we're a primary response when there's a family or a center. And a lot of times we support the people at the school, or at a, when we did the debris flow, we were throughout the community offering additional psychological first aid support. A lot of you may have heard of some of these incidents. The Thomas Fire and debris flow were a long-standing response that we did. The Positano shooting at the Housing Authority, we were there for almost a week, every day offering support. The Conception dive boat incident, we were involved with supporting that. So a lot of very large responses, and small, because we also get asked by families to come in.
The Isla Vista
Next slide,
shooting,
Ileana.
the Isla Vista shooting, we were there for 3 months on the ground, boots on the ground. So it was, we were the first ones on the response, and we stayed there on the ground supporting Isla Vista for about 3 months.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk a little bit about our response structure. We get a call, we have a line 24/7 in English and Spanish. We get an initial call. We'll gather information on what the need is. We determine the level of need. Ileana is our current dispatcher. She will get the information from usually Anthony or I about what the need is. She puts a call out to volunteers. Well, today, after today, you would be able to be involved in a response. Usually you would be shadowing a more senior responder. So the call goes out, and then the teams are established. We always go in pairs. We never self-deploy. We don't show up at an incident because we heard about it. We have to be invited. And that person who invites us is our point person. And then our teams will go out, they get briefed. And then after our responses, we do a debriefing where we discuss what worked, what didn't work, and also we take care of our volunteers. It's very important for the work we do that we care for each other, ourselves, and we're responsible for the well-being of not just who we respond for, but our own team. And there will be opportunities to ask questions at any point, but if you do, please put them in the chat. Yes. Someone asked about the slides. Yes, you can. We can share the slides. Okay, next slide. Ali, do you want to talk about PFA? Oh, you're muted.
You think by now I would get that little button? No, everything that everybody is saying, Gina and Anthony, is absolutely just crucial. I know that when I started doing PFA, it's so effective. It's really heart-centered. It's really heart work. And it really does work in all the situations that I've been able to apply it. So, but we'll keep going. We got a lot of slides, so I'll be saying a little bit more later.
So the basics of psychological first aid, just so you know that there's a tremendous amount of research behind it for its efficacy. And it's definitely a trauma-informed approach, and Ali will talk a little bit about that. It is an approach that's been very effective for people in trauma. And it helps to establish the safety, the connectedness, and to reduce the fear and stress. And also help with adaptive long-term coping. Okay, next. So Ali, I think it would be really interesting for you to share your work with trauma-informed care.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so what I do is I'm the clinical youth outreach. Okay, slow down. Meditation. I am the clinical youth outreach worker for the Santa Barbara Unified School District, and I'm a really big advocate in being trauma informed. What it really is, it's an organizational structure and treatment framework that involves understanding, recognizing, and responding to the effects of all the types of trauma. And there's many different types of trauma. You have, PTSD, you have complex trauma. We're not going to go into that. What PFA really focuses is on really recognizing, looking, feeling for these symptoms, for these signs that someone's just not okay, and helping de-escalate. When the de-escalation happens, the person can really tap into their own resiliency, and that will go a long way. That's a really strong message the person will take away from being cared for, at the same time tapping into their own resiliency, their own strengths, and carrying on that message of, I got this. I got this because I also have a community behind me. I was able to, find my ground here, and now I can keep moving forward. What we also add is a lot of resources, a lot of referrals to different organizations. So I always said Gina is the queen of resources in our community. Every time that I'm like, where can I go? I find someone with Gina. So you're all in great hands with this network. What trauma informed is, it also emphasizes physical, physiological and emotional safety for both consumers and providers, and help survivors rebuild a sense of control and empowerment. We give back options. When we are in fight, flight, and freeze, all options are just off the table. And so I like to use an example or really state that we're all just a crisis away sometimes. I remember I was running on the beach, just a really nice day, having a grand old time. And I get a phone call, and that phone call had a lot of bad news. In that second, I forgot where I was, fight, flight, and freeze. I'm a freezer. And I couldn't find my car. I went into the next crisis. Someone stole my car. It's gone. Like my brain could not ground itself. Luckily with PFA training, I'm like, okay, let's go back to the core actions, practice it on myself. So it's like kind of like emotional CPR for myself. Call a friend. She comes up. I sit down in her car, take a deep breath, and my car magically appeared. It wasn't that it magically appeared, just all my senses gathered. I found safety in that car. So it could happen to anyone, and that's, it's just nice to know that there is some core actions you can take when you do this training, and then that you can apply for yourself and other people that you want to respond to around you. Trauma informed means recognizing that people often have many different types of trauma in their lives. So you might be working with someone that has complex trauma. That's the type of trauma that's been, they've had a series of events in their life since childhood. So, so their escalation might just be something that for them it's normal, but you can still work with that with PFA and help de-escalate to help them build new coping skills and perspective on the situation that they're encountering. It's also understanding the impact of trauma is an important first step in becoming a compassionate and supportive community. Trauma-informed care really is just, a big word saying it's heart. It's about the heart. We have these mirror neurons on our brain. They're always out feeling. And we have also been very told by a lot of different mediums to ignore that, And so what trauma-informed care is you coming back to yourself saying, I want to respond to that person. I want to care for that person. I want to observe what's happening in a compassionate way by understanding. You're not seeking to be understood. You want to understand where they're coming from, meeting where they're at. And that's why PFA is so effective, because we go where it's at. We're not expecting anyone to come to us. We go there respectfully, kindly, and just allow a lot of different options. That's my cue. Like, let's go to the next slide. All right. Don't laugh at me, Anthony. We have a good time. Crisis versus trauma. In PFA and just in general, it's really good to know that the difference, when we are responding with PFA, it is therapeutic. It is not therapy. But it's good to also see kind of the differences. So what trauma is, it's a subjective, keyword subjective reaction to a stressful life experience. You might encounter someone in an extreme traumatic situation and they're navigating well. And that's, they have the coping skills that match the situation. So these are the major contributing factors for trauma. Individual's perception of the event, right? Like for me, that phone call was like, it was bigger than me, and all my coping skills just did not match the bad news that I had received. So I'm using myself an example. Feel free to also think about like an example for yourself or someone that you have served or supported during a traumatic experience. The individual's inability to resolve their crisis by previous coping skills. So that's what I mean, like, we all have coping skills. I know I'm a very optimistic person, but this is also a place and opportunity to create more robust coping mechanisms, skills, perceptions. And so this is where PFA is the right fit. It can reduce the impact and increase resiliency. You can bring forward their strengths through the 8 core actions. And, Gina and Anthony will talk more about how those core actions, they don't have to be in line, but if you remember them, you bring them, you weave them into a situation, you're weaving in more coping skills, modeling it, which is why we really focus on self-care. You are a protective factor, and that's a big responsibility. And studies have shown that reason people are happier in their lives, they've done like the Harvard study for they followed people for 100 years. And, you know, the people that were happier, that had a more fulfilling life, even though they had gone through a lot in their life, they always had a protective factor. So it takes one person to make a thing, to make. Luz, I love you. Thank you so much. It is great stuff. It's fun to, I really love this. I nerd out on this. So being a protective factor, you know, you help person adapt and respond in a positive way. And so it's a huge honor. And also why we really stress the self-care, that our cup is full so that it's plenty for when we respond and we're there for others. These are the kind of types of traumas that are that exist. Reoccurring trauma, when someone just keeps happening still in that same traumatic situation. Complex trauma, that's the one where, you know, from childhood and on, just a series of traumatic events. PTSD, when it's one event, right? That one event that brings a lot of flashback, a lot of triggers. And these are things that need a lot more intensive clinical and wraparound services. Referrals are really appropriate way to support. And so we say this again because PFA is really like, think about like this, the CPR in the moment, and then you take the person to the ambulance and the other treatments. PFA is very much psychological first aid. It's in that moment support, so that after we can support with all the different treatments and services after that, more long-term. Next slide, por favor. I will bring back to Gina.
Okay, so thank you, Ali. That was really, really important. And Ali keeps reminding us about the importance of trauma-informed care. And I really believe that that's at the core and the heart of this work. So psychological first aid was really developed to deal with people coming back from the war, and way back trying to find an effective way to deal with what we now call PTSD. But since 9/11, it's really become a robust and well-known response for a mass trauma. We've had a lot of shootings recently, mass shootings. The people that we were trained by have been boots on the ground all over the country. We have people right now on this training that I know are doing that kind of work through national organizations that deploy people. It's always a first line of response when there has been a trauma. And it really is effective because when we intervene and we attend at that point, there can be an entree to regulation, and there can be an entree to the beginning of recovery. So just that we have a tremendous amount of support behind this work, a consensus by many, if not all, mental health practitioners and schools of thought, that this psychosocial support is, I think, the first line of defense in all extreme events. And through COVID, we're very mindful that people are now in a sustained trauma state. So what you're learning today in terms of regulating yourself and being able to be attentive will impact the whole community. One person, there was a Vietnamese monk, I don't know if you know Thich Nhat Hanh, but when he came, he was a refugee from Vietnam in the boats. And the boats were filled with children and families screaming and crying, and there was just mayhem. And he would meditate and he would be calm. And he said, if one person on the boat was calm, it started to ripple throughout the whole boat. So you're on the boat with us, and we're going to go out into our community and offer that kind of mindful, centered presence. You don't have to give them everything they need. You just need to be there. So next slide.
Alrighty, that's me.
Ali,
Yeah, we want to talk about the symptoms, what you might see, what you might we like to really stress that the body never lies, that it will tell you what it will communicate, emotions are messengers. And yet sometimes we're so scared of them because they're really bringing up stuff it's scary, it's deep, it's you. And so sometimes being able to name it, to tame it, really supports the ability to um, name the emotion and then really infuse it with what, the support, the coping, the actions, the love, the support that emotion, that symptom really needs. So some of the things that we're going to be seeing in the future, because right now we're thinking about, okay, so we have been responding to a lot of things in the community during COVID. We are now entering a new world. It's just not going to be the same. And so we're really big on recovery and making sure that we are thinking, how is this going to be a stretch? We're going to be seeing a lot of recovery during the next couple years. And so these are some things that initially it was just for youth, but then we're not that different. And one thing that the pandemic also did is that the stigmas were dismantled a little bit faster because we saw it, we felt it in our body. So these are some of the symptoms that we will, that you might be seeing, and we can name it. We can name them. So for example, fears and anxiety that might come out as school avoidance, not wanting to go to school. And sometimes like, okay, but we might have to address that a little bit more. Sleep problems, even though it became a little bit normal, we don't want to normalize that. We really want to normalize that, we're going to say that this is happening, express it, and then be able to look for support on getting more sleep. Difficulties with concentration and academic performance, sadness and depression, anger, the irritability, distress, suspiciousness, alcohol and other substance use. Physical symptoms, right? Like pain, all that stress, all that allostatic load of like just constant stress also impacted our muscles. We are 30 trillion cells and they're all connected. It's a whole network. And so they receive the message and they might be really tense and they're coming out with just, you're feeling it in your body. Grief. There is, the primary grief of losing someone or losing something really important, something very significant. But we're also going to be seeing the secondary grief, which is what could have happened for like our seniors, for, I really wanted to go to that one dance. I wanted to have this experience. And so there's going to be secondary grief that we might be seeing that maybe our youth, our families, people that we're around won't know how to express it. And we tell them, that sounds like it's secondary grief. It gives them a little bit more of like a pathway, like, okay, this is what's going on. And then there's guilt. We saw a lot of things on the news. We saw a lot of things in our own vicinity, and for the Latino community too, there was a lot of a tragedy that happened far away from us that we felt like we couldn't be there. So, just that compassion and that empathy will go a long way when you're seeing all these things. Yes. Gina?
Sure. Or Anthony, do you want to talk a little bit about psychological symptoms? You've certainly seen a lot of them in our work.
Yes, absolutely. So it's really important for us to know the physiological and psychological symptoms that happen during trauma. The reason for that is that if we know what we might be feeling or what we can go through, it helps us self-regulate our own feelings, and it's really, really important. So some people get very irritable if there is a car accident and everybody passed away except you. Sometimes there's self-blame, or if you feel somebody caused an incident, you start blaming that person, and things like this are natural. It happens. And we want people to know that when you start feeling, and if you start feeling anything like this that we have up on the screen, it's okay. Okay. It's okay if you feel this way. Always know that what you feel at that moment, those are your feelings. And we have to own our feelings. And it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. We're not going to be perfect at all times, but it's really important for us to understand that if I am getting frustrated, I'm getting mad at my significant other, I need to take a step back and really think about how I can, get through these feelings. A lot of people start feeling, helplessness. They don't feel like they want to do anything anymore. And those are feelings that you really need to keep an eye out for, due to the fact of maybe thoughts of suicide. It's really, really important. Don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Be there to listen. And, it's like, again, it's your feelings and nobody has a right to take those away. And don't ever tell somebody not to cry. Just be aware of that, because then you don't allow them to learn how to deal with difficult situations, or showing their emotions and being able to self-regulate. So those are really important. Next slide.
Mhm.
So the physiological symptoms. A lot of people think that, it's not a big deal. You're probably coming down with a cold. Well, depression and the symptoms of having a cold, they can get confused. Some people will say that it's a cold, but in reality, it might be depression. You might have stomach pains. You might have chest pains. You might just have no strength at all. It's just, you feel like you're getting sick, but in reality, it could be depression. And this is one thing that is very, doctors miss it quite a bit. So if somebody's gone through something traumatic and they start feeling these things, I'm not saying that it could be depression, but it's always good to keep an eye out for that. Don't close your views. You always have a 360 view of what, things that can happen. Keep your mind open. You can get, chest pains. Like I said, you might feel like you're having a heart attack. You get a lot of pressure. Some people end up getting into drugs, or, people that are already in drugs, they have a larger consumption. Some people can sleep, but then there's some people that will just not be able to sleep. They'll have insomnia. But one thing for sure is a lot of fatigue. You get really, really tired. And yes, diarrhea, stomach pains, and nausea is part of it. It's part of the trauma. It's part of depression. So always, like I said, always keep your mind and your eyes open to be able to assist somebody that might be going through a difficult time. And these are things that you need to know, that it is important to realize that it's okay not to be okay. And these are somebody's feelings. And yes, I saw a message. Validation is key. Okay, you want to validate those feelings. You don't want to minimize those feelings. Just be there and listen.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's so important. And it brings it back to what Ali said about the body. When you're having these physiological and psychological reactions, to normalize it is to say your body is responding to what you've experienced.
Yeah, the validation
What's
is
happened is you're validating their experience because they're flooded.
Yeah.
Their body and their psyche can't absorb or digest what's going on. Sorry, Ali, go ahead.
No worries. Nice apology, love. Yeah, the validation is such a source. Like, it's such a very powerful source, because when we're going to be only with them for a little bit, they have to navigate the rest of the days and that rest of the couple weeks. But they need something to hold on to. And those words of like validation really will go a long, long way. Physiological symptoms are, the manifestation of the body saying, what's going on up here in the mind needs to be transcended a little bit more into the body so that I can get help. All these physiological symptoms are like, please help me. They are really signs of I need help, because a person is for some reason, stigmas, many reasons, no judgment whatsoever, can't maybe say it verbally, I need help. So that's why with PFA, we really help like do that warm handoff from like the body to the resource of, support. And usually these are all things that are big changes in themselves too, but not always. I used to say that, but I've also noticed that because of complex trauma, they might have normalized this a lot. And it's like, this is just my life. This is how it's going to be. So PFA allows also the permission to say, there's other ways to address this. There's other ways we can help. Himnari says, we often forget that the mind and body are connected. Yes. Our emotions and our body are connected very much. They are a network. They're a network. They're the inner constellation, the galaxy. And Like I said, we're 30 trillion cells, and each one is connected to our skin, to our eyes, to our ears, to like our bones, our tissue. And our body is it's the vehicle that's navigating throughout the day. So it's really important that there is such a huge network that's happening, and we can help facilitate the self-soothing, the balancing, the restorative piece. We're gonna go on to the next one because go ahead, Anthony.
No, actually, I was going to, right, like you said, go right into the next one about self-care. All that falls into play, right? And it's very, very important that we really take a look at ourselves. And, just like Ali, we're very open about what we have gone through. And I'm going to be honest with you, during the debris flow, when we're responding to the debris flow, I was working the debris flow as SBRN. I was working the debris flow at the Office of Emergency Management. I was the one running the phones, and I was just going, no matter, during that time, I was going through some very difficult times because I also lost somebody during the debris flow and assisting with families. And then all of a sudden on May, God, it's already going to be 3 years, May 26th, right, 2018, I suffered a brain aneurysm. And that is definitely life-changing. I lost my memory for a couple of months. I had to try to remember everybody. The doctor had said that if my wife didn't get me there at the time that she did, obviously I wouldn't be here because I was already bleeding. It actually had ruptured. So taking care of yourself is extremely, extremely important. Do things that make you happy. If you have to schedule a time to have time for yourself, then please do that. Try to figure out what you like. I mean, and if you don't know what you like, just try something new. Try to see if there's something that intrigues your mind. I know somebody put it in the chat earlier about cooking and baking. That's great. I mean, all of us have different ways that we've learned how to cope with certain things, but we forget about them when we're under stress, right? So if there's something that you enjoy, please do it. Mental health is extremely, extremely important. And, somebody talked about stigma. I'm a suicide attempt survivor, and I know definitely personally about the stigma that it holds. So that is one thing that we want to break. No more stigma for anyone, because, we all have a mind, we all have mental health, we all go through things, but we're all different. And that's the beauty of being alive, is learning something different from everybody, right? And that's one of the best things to do. So ladies.
I love what Sue said, do what makes your tail wag. And I think Anthony and I just recently got puppies, so we're like, yeah, when we see that tail wag, we're like, we're doing good. And the self-care, yeah, it's something that's very deliberate, which we forget. I love what we were saying about how we forget how the mind and body are connected. We also forget that it's like self-care is very deliberate. It can't be casual. You have to take your self-care very serious. And I love humor, really important. There we go, the puppy, Osito. Yeah, I already feel like the dopamine just.
It's my self-care. So.
And this. The self-care is medicine. It's medicine. It's what grounds us into the present. It's, when I love when I learned this, when we are in the past, we become depressed, and we're in the future, we become anxious. So when we're in the present, the reason it's so good to be in the present is because that's really where anything that you can do that's in your hands is there. And sometimes if we feel like we go into the future, it's so out of our hands, it doesn't exist, but we can go to all different directions. And then coming back to the present is where that's our source. That's our source of all the things that we can do that's in our hands. And we love this quote that says, rest and self-care are so important. When you take time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve others from the overflow. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. Very, very important. It's so true. We cannot give what we do not have. Yes, Luz. Yes, very, very true. In Spanish, they say ponte las pilas, which means put on your batteries. And I lived with that for so long. So I'm always like trying to put on the batteries. But if they're not recharged, if they're not charged, it's like being on 1%. And if you've had 1% on your phone, and like it just causes a lot of anxiety. And so it's that, coming from an overflow, more plentiful. Oh,
Should I
okay.
talk about compassion fatigue, Abby, or do you want to? Because
Sure.
I know you're very interested. Go ahead, Abby.
This is my thing. This is my jam.
Her
Compassion
thing, and also
fatigue.
she's going to leave soon, so I want to get as much of you as I can. I love my team. La familia.
I know it. We have really, with all the things we're responding, I feel like we know each other's like familia for sure. Mi casa es tu casa, Gina.
Good way.
We still haven't gone to each other's home though. Freaking
Oh.
COVID. Soon though. So compassion fatigue. We love stressing about this because as we respond and we talk about self-care and caring for others, there's something that happens to us as well. What compassion fatigue is described as the cost of caring for others in emotional and physical pain. And I know cost is such a harsh word, but the reality is that, we do have, we have a source, and that source needs to be replenished, needs to be nourished. We want to be regenerative. And so the only way to be regenerative is also through resting, through understanding what we're going through. It's characterized by deep physical and emotional exhaustion, and a pronounced change in the helper's ability to feel empathy for their patients, loved ones, and coworkers. The work you do is so important. Like, you are so vital. Without you, this world is not the same. And I really stress that because when compassion fatigue takes over, you keep going and you keep going, and then we experience a lot of burnout, and then that we start not liking our jobs. We want to love them, and that I feel like that's such tragedy when we're doing something that no longer we love. And you know what? People can tell. And so it goes back to the next point. It's marked by increased cynicism, a loss of enjoyment of our career, and eventually can transform into depression and stress-related illnesses. It has shown that it does increase chronic illnesses. And so that's because your body is, inflamed, with all the stress. It's working, trying to restore homeostasis, but consistently receiving a lot of stress emotionally, physically. And it attacks the very core of what brought us into this work, our empathy and compassion for others. So the compassion fatigue, this term was actually came about after the Vietnam War, when people started seeing just a surplus of soldiers coming in and seeing them with PTSD. And the people that were serving and supporting, they noticed that they were impacted, they were changing along the way. So it was studied, and that's why it is now called compassion fatigue. These are some of the symptoms you will see. And this is where we say, like, the reason we really focus on the symptoms and all is because you might also see it within, when we do PFA, we don't go alone. We have a team. We work together. So sometimes you might see it with your colleague and you're like, I think, you're seeing these kind of, when you're seeing that, you can tell them and let them know, like, I'm seeing this, maybe it's okay for you to, I just want to check in, make sure that you don't have to respond today. It's okay. So that's how we're helping each other. We're kind of keeping each other nourished and supported. So these are just some of few of the symptoms. Would you see the cognitive symptoms, the emotional symptoms? I love that we even talk about the spiritual symptoms. Self-care is the pie of life: physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and spiritual. And so it's all part of it. So those, we're not going to go all into them. You will have access to the slides, but if you have more questions about this is my jam. I would love to connect with you about this.
Thank you, Allie. I put in the chat that Anthony had to log off. I think he's receiving an award. He's not from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm just honored to have Anthony in our community, but he'll be back. So all of the background that we gave you, the psychological background, will preparing you to understand why the 8 core actions were developed. So when PFA was developed, they took a group of people into a big room and they basically brainstormed for many days, looking, can we whittle down the basic interventions or responses that we can do that are the most effective, very simply, for a person that's struggling with trauma. And they came up with these very simple 8 core actions. And I know a lot of you on this call are already doing them. They're not anything foreign from what you're doing when you're responding to someone who's hurting. What PFA did is they put them into a structure. And we're going to go into each of those core actions. And we're also going to turn them on their side and also talk about self-care in what you would be doing as you're assisting someone else. The 8 core actions, as Ali said, are not done in order, but they're just part of the response. We'll go into all of them in more depth, but very simply, the only core action that you have to do, or probably the first 2 that need to be done in every intervention, and that's contact and engagement, to make sure that you've made that contact and that the person feels safe. And the rest can be done in any order, but those 2 are really important. And then we'll touch on each of the other ones as we go through. Okay, Liana. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about core action number 1, because I think that's the key to the door. That's the door opens. And then I imagine like going to visit someone in their home. And that person has invited you in. You want to make a connection. You don't want to just walk in and sit down. So the most important thing when you're addressing someone is in a non-intrusive and open, compassionate manner. Say hello. Introduce yourself. Who are you? A lot of people are in trauma. It's like their lid is flipped. They're not in their right mind. They're flooded. They're terrified. They're afraid. They're not. So you're helping them to maybe come back to the moment. You ask permission to talk. Some people may not want to talk. You explain very simply why you're there. And maybe at the moment, you might offer water or something like that. So I'm going to use Ali, and I'm going to do contact and engagement with Ali.
Let's do it.
Ali, hello. Hello, I'm Gina Carvalho, and I'm here as a volunteer with the Santa Barbara Response Network. I'm a volunteer to see how I might be able to assist you. Is it all right if we talk for a few minutes or walk together?
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
So in your own way, I think so much is conveyed right now with our voice. So many things are done on the phone, but it can be conveyed. It can be conveyed like we did. It's a matter of respecting the person and explaining. Sometimes I say that Santa Barbara Response Network is like the Red Cross for the soul, for the heart. You know, I'm here to help with those needs. Okay. Do you have anything to add, Ali, to
Yeah.
this?
You know,
Maybe you could talk about the self-care piece too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the content engagement, this is the step that we tend to forget. We've done a few trainings and, you know, I've done it where I'm like, how can I help? I'm here, you know, like, look, get an action. And I always have to ground myself too. Like, it's not about me, you know. In that introduction, it's important because there's a lot of assumptions that person has from their own past experience about getting help. So by you branching into like their world, it's really helpful. And if you noticed, I was very like, yes, like my tone is low, and we have to meet them where they're at. So if that tone is really low, it's allowing that to be, allowing to meet them where they're at, where their energy is. You know, we don't have to like bring them into like, all right, let's go, I'm going to help you, right? That's just not that's not helpful. That can actually be a little bit hurtful for their, like, let's get you out of this emotional state. We're really meeting them where they're at. And that introduction, that branch is really like you entering their world. So the introduction is that contact engagement, really vital. For the self-care piece is, gosh, you know, we had this little clip here where it says Richard is very protective of his personal space. We had it before COVID. So every time I see it, I'm like, wow. Just having your space, you know, learning to set your own boundaries, crucial, because especially when we are being asked to respond, or you respond to your own family members, your friends, putting the mask on first will go a long way. So time management, time is precious. So allowing yourself to feel like you're in control of your time is important as well. That's the contact and engagement with yourself. It's a check-in with yourself. Like, am I setting, do I really want to do this? Do I need space right now? Do I need to take some time to care for myself, even if it's 5 minutes? 5 minutes of self-care will fuel you for like an hour, you know? So imagine if you're doing 5 minutes every hour, or just even a minute. Self-care doesn't have to be this elaborate, you know, like I have to go to a spa all day, or, I mean, yes, if you can, yes. And also, you know, it's about weaving it into your day, and knowing what works for you, and checking in with yourself, branching in, going inward to go outward, so that you also know what you're saying yes and no to, so that we don't experience burnout. Because again, you are so important. I've seen a lot of you all in person and in the work we've done. You're so important. I don't know what we would do without you.
Thanks, Allie. So safety and comfort. So it would be, I think, very difficult to be able to help someone if they're not feeling safe and comfortable in that situation. This was very important action when people have been in like a mass shooting, let's say, or when we were in Isla Vista, or places where people were heightenedly there was so much trauma in the air. We wanted to make sure that they felt safe, and so we would often we'll take them away from the situation and walk somewhere else so that they can regulate. We want to find out if they're going into a situation at home or where they're leaving that doesn't feel safe. So again, after the contact and engagement, how are you feeling? Are you feeling safe where you are? Where can I get you to a place or a person where you would feel safe? So you're offering that physical and emotional comfort. And then the self-care piece, Allie is really good at this, describing this. And I don't know if she's, Allie, are you still
Yeah.
here?
I'm
Yeah,
here.
I know
I'm
she
here.
has to pop off.
Yes.
Let me know when you need to pop off.
Yeah, we'll do, Gina. Just in a couple minutes, but I feel really honored to be in this room with all of you this morning. Well, the safety and comfort, you know, it's number 2, because after you do the engagement, we're looking to create safety, and that's something that can be done in so many different ways. But it's something that's also very intentional. So like self-care being intentional, that you are creating safety and comfort for yourself as well. I like to remember like the mind and body, right? Like we were saying, like they're so connected, even if we forget, but they're still can be very connected. So engaging all our five senses in what creates safety and comfort for you. People, oh my gosh, people are amazing, but they can also be toxic, and unintentionally. But this is where you check in your five senses, your body, your emotions, they're messengers, they're talking to you. And if you ask yourself, I always go back to the question, if my body could speak right now, what would it say? What would it say it needs? Right. And sometimes it'd be like, girl, you need to get a glass of water. We're so freaking dehydrated here because I forgot, that I need to drink water. So that moment to just pause, take a moment, engage my senses, like what am I listening to? What am I smelling? What am I seeing? There's a lot of different exercises that engage the five senses. We can, again, if you want a little bit more information about that, let me know. I put my email on the chat. There's just so many ways to engage your senses, but really important because that's going to create safety, or it will warn you if you're not feeling safe. Sometimes we ignore it because it's like, well, I have to be here. And that's what the self-care piece is so important to like remind yourself that I can walk away. I can hang up that phone. I can put that phone down. With people, I one way to kind of do a quick assessment is, are they a vitamin in your life or are they contaminating you right now? Because contamination is sometimes you don't even notice it. It's just, it's seeping, it's slow. It's a slow process sometimes. So it's just a quick check-in with your health, your spiritual health, your emotional health. Do I feel like this person is a vitamin in my life, or do I feel there's some contamination happening? Do I feel like there's a cloud over my head and it just happens to be when, that person is around, or just or certain people or certain groups? The environment is really important. Plants, this is Fresa. I have her in front of me all day. Well, not all day. I'm not at home all day anymore, but plants are really healing. They're really, they just remind you of nature, the green, the crisp, the tapping you back into nature, to the grounding. Pictures, pictures that inspire. I have a friend that she buys things all the time that inspire her. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Surround yourself with things that inspire you because that's in your control. You can have things that inspire you. Jewelry, right? Is there a bracelet that has a beautiful reminder of a friend or of that one moment at, this beautiful place that you went? Smells, right? Engaging again our five senses. When I do groups, I always Carmen's in here, she knows I'm always spraying lavender, right? Because it has this like engages the nose, it smells, and it sends a message of like, but some people might not like that, so I do ask for permission. No lavender. Let's see, Lou says self-care helps me feel in control and grounded. Yes, it is like, it's like reclaiming yourself, right? Reclaiming like your time, your spirit, you as a person. And inspirational objects, just surround yourself with what nurtures you. And yeah, I can go on and on, but
Thank you, Allie. I love everything. You bring so much, and you bring so much life and joy to our community. Thank you, and support. So stabilization, and that's basically when we did the grounding exercise, you were stabilizing yourself. And in a way, you become that stabilization for the person that you're dealing with. You're that grounding anchor. You're that stable force. You may end up breathing together. You may end up walking together. Walking is a huge stabilizing force because it's rhythmic. It's back and forth. Breathing, getting them to just be tuned into their bodies, calming them. And often we're that anchor for them. So that's a very core part of the first introduction to the person and the person you're with. Next slide. The self-care.
Yes.
Um,
I can I'll cover this one, and then beautiful, amazing community. I have to leave. I'm off to another venture at the Ortega Park mural. So but I love talking about this because we'll go straight to the point. What brings you joy? What brings you joy? I don't even have to tell you, because I know that you do this. You love being involved. You're here today. The evidence, you know, is there. You love being involved. You showed up on a Saturday morning. So we don't have to go there. Just applaud yourself. Just really like, dang, I rock, right? I go above and beyond. And this is definitely the network to be part of, because it's definitely supports building a positive, you know, group of people. I love connecting with Gina. I love connecting with, you know, all the volunteers, Cassie. Like we have that in common, that our heart is bigger than us. And for me, that's what brings joy. So let's just pour on a little bit of joy here. Let's do a waterfall. And my last comment before I also leave, when it comes to mindfulness, just a reminder of how to ground sometimes on the spot. I like to use this technique. It's the waterfall. So sometimes we're under the waterfall, and waterfalls are beautiful. They're beautiful to see. But if you're under a waterfall, it's not that nice. If it's just pour, 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 pour. So when you notice that you're like feeling heavy, 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 you're under the waterfall. It's the fatigue. It's the, you know, like the just, you know, feeling like maybe foggy. Maybe you're sometimes I even feel a little blind, like I can't fully see. Yes, we're pouring it on. And so this is the waterfall we like. When you're feeling heavy, it's time to step back from the waterfall, take a deep breath, and pour on the things that, you know, bring you joy. So I'm seeing here, put cuddle time with my daughters. Oh yes, the ocean, spending time with loved ones, music, dancing. What kind of songs? What are you dancing to these days, Gina? Love to go fishing. Yes. Yes, Jason. What's up, Jason? Spending time in nature. By the way, what are you catching these days? What's in the ocean? Animals in nature, my puppy, oh my gosh, hiking, sunset walks, hiking with friends, Latino music, of course. Gina gets her salsa on, okay? I have a friend, she gets her salsa on. Swimming out with the boy at Ledbetter. Yes, oh my God, swimming is so healing. Just you're in there, it's like another world you're part of. Art, oh my gosh, art is incredibly important. Painting, riding my horse, Zeus, that's amazing. Riding the bikes, yes, yes, yes. I didn't have a bike, but I have a bike now, so thank you, COVID. I don't know. Pickleball, I've never tried that. Gina, have you tried pickleball?
no, but Ileana plays. Ileana,
Yeah.
she played
Claudia.
last night. I told her she was tired, so she said for her self-care she played pickleball.
Claudia, tell us what is pickleball, because I'm like, I have never played it, but let us know, because someone might be like, I want to try that. Like Anthony said, let's try new things. Claudia, if you want to, you don't have to. Andrew said playing music. Yes, it's a cross between ping pong and tennis. That sounds amazing. Why didn't I know about pickleball? Well, that sounds like something I would definitely want to try. Reading poems. I don't know if y'all know, but Gina's a, you know, she's a published poet. Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful book. Being goofy and laughing with my buddies. Yes. These are all incredible. That's incredible. It's just really nice to when this is a myth about, you know, self-care. It's like, you know, if you're doing self-care, it comes across as selfish. It actually inspires other people. If you notice the people you admire, they usually look really healthy and really happy and really centered because they're doing self-care. So it's actually really inspiring. So when you do it, it actually charges other people. Oh, Gina. You bring us so much joy, Gina. And my calls with Gina are like, yes, there's sunlight. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you have an incredible rest of the training. And again, if you all need anything, we have you. We got you. So I'm going to go out to the community. Take lots and lots of care. Be kind to yourself.
Ellie,
See.
thank you. Thank you for saving murals at Ortega Park. So if anybody wants to help you save the murals at Ortega Park, can they be there any other time besides?
Yes, thank you, thank you. So the 24th, come join us. It's going to be safe, a safe environment, and we just want to keep them, but no more erasing our culture, our history. It's really important. So I'll be out there today. We'll be canvassing as well. If you're interested in doing some canvassing, youth, we're looking for youth, and we're incentivizing them if they're going to be helping with us. We want them to feel like, hey, this is what I want to be part of the community. So let me know if you're interested. My music, my email's on the chat, and I look forward to connecting with you all. Thank you so much.
Hey, Allie, just
Thank
real
you, Allie,
quick.
for
Yeah. Hey, Jason.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you.
So
for
good to see you,
everything you're doing.
Jason.
Take a look at your email address and chat and just verify that that's right.
Yeah.
I think there's an I missing, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
But
you.
thank you. You are so awesome. Thank you,
Yeah,
Allie.
and
for everything.
You are, Jason. You all are. Oh my gosh, we did some amazing Christmas work last year, and we're gonna do it again. So
And now,
Oh, I
yeah.
like that. Beautiful work. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye.
Okay. You can always reach us and get any information as well through Ileana and I and SBRN. So now I'm flying solo here. So everybody, we're going to take a little break soon, but I'm just going to cover a couple more. Okay, so core action number 4 is where you're gathering information. So at this point, you've made the connection. The person's feeling and you're feeling safe in that situation. There's a stabilizing that's happened and they're being present, and you're feeling like you're able to start to get some information on what their needs are. So you may just, sometimes taking a pen and paper is helpful, just putting down, like, are they in need of a referral? Are they in need of additional services? Just checking in with yourself, like, I think they might need a little more stabilization, or I think they might need some, medical attention, or, you're just sort of checking in on what are those needs. And it's very basic. And let me tell you, when you're addressing the basic needs of what a person is needing at that time, it's powerful. I've said often in my trainings that one of the most powerful reminders of this was a woman in our community who had lost her son and her brother, both to suicide. And she was struggling because she didn't speak English. They didn't have very much money, and she wanted to do an obit. She didn't know how to do it, but she wanted to honor them. And that was on her mind. So I helped to draft the obit in Spanish and English. And we created a beautiful obituary, and it just rested her, her soul. She wanted that. You never know, help with pets, help with children, help with scheduling. But just that little bit, a person could take a breath back. So, and then the self-care piece for that is just for yourself. And maybe after this workshop, or even during it, if you want to take a few minutes to just write down where do you gather your support? Your mental, your physical health, your spiritual health. Is it family or friends? Is it professionals? That's just really tuning in and gathering information about what you need, and do you know where to get it? And we're going to keep coming back to this. We can't, if these 3 hours that you're spending are a gift to yourself. You're learning skills to help others, but it's a gift to yourself. Really, take it in and do a check-in. This is like a reboot. It's a reboot. Okay. And this is basically the practical assistance part is then how are you going to do it? And just clarifying the need again. discussing or creating an action plan with them, and then sometimes checking in. A few days later, I'll do a text or a check-in. How's it going with that? Do you want me to help often I'll make the call with the person, connect them with a warm handoff, help them to, because they're very traumatized. You can imagine some of these families that have lost children or have lost everything they own. And they're just they're not in that state that we're in right now, where we're present and engaged. And so we need to offer them that kind of support. And then never promising something you're not going to follow up on. So never overpromise, but just saying, I can connect you with this person, and then can you want me to help you do that? There's always that mindfulness that they're kind of taking you at your word, and you're a very core person to them right now. I've been very involved in recently trying to find agencies and services that will actually respond to a family. They get answering machines. Sometimes people don't get callbacks. So I've really been trying to figure out what I can do to make those agencies more user-friendly to our population and some of our underserved population with barriers. So if anybody wants to join me on that mission, I have a few volunteers that are helping me, but I would really like and I thought SBRN would be a really nice pivot for that, because if they call an agency, maybe they could call an SBRN volunteer to get some help until they get to services. So I'm thinking, how can we make people who are afraid more comfortable? I didn't think this training would be a gift to myself. I am so grateful. It's nice to see and be with others who want to do the same kind of good for others. Thank you. I honor you. Okay, next slide. So the practical assistance for yourself. Okay, mind, body, spirit, sleep. I recently, I work at the Glendon Association as well as at SBRN and at PsychAlive. And through Glendon, we're a mental health training nonprofit. Had a psychiatrist on, a local psychiatrist, Dr. Michael Mantz, really great guy. But he's interested in mind-body psychiatry, not just medication. And he said that when someone comes to see him, the first question he asks is, are you sleeping? He said that it's the percentage of people that are in psychiatric distress because of lack of sleep. It's one of the risk factors for suicide. And we may not get 7 or 8 hours, but we need to get consistent sleep. And if this is an issue with you, there are a lot of things that can be done. You can email me. I can share things that I learned from Dr. Manson in my own research, because as I've aged, sleep has been an issue. But it's very, very important. I cannot overstress lack of sleep leading to psychological, spiritual, emotional distress. Exercise, it doesn't have to be go to the gym and blow out. It's not for losing weight. It's for walking, relaxing our muscles, reducing stress, getting out into nature. Just 20 minutes every day. I just cannot, again, stress enough moving the body, moving the body. The body is where we live. It's our temple. We have to take care of it. And then relaxing activities, baths, breathing exercises, meditation. So really take away from this, what am I doing and how am I caring for myself? As if you were like a child or a beautiful plant. You got to nurture it so it will bloom. So my practice, and maybe you'll want to put in the chat what your practices are, but I meditate every morning. I write, and I exercise. And I do that before I start my day. So I give myself a little time in the morning because that's my reset. I don't know if other people have things, but feel free to put them in the chat if there are things that really help you. Oh, silence, going to the gym, coffee, yoga. Yes, I practice yoga too. Okay, core action number 6, group and solo yoga. Yes, reading a good book. Yeah, taking a midday walk, getting away from meetings, worship, prayer, meditation, walks on the beach. Me too. The ocean is so healing. And the other very, 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 very important thing is social support. Walking your dog, quick journaling every night, very important, morning and night, reflecting on your day. Yes, Kim. Yes. So what we know is that we're social animals. We're social. We were born into a social milieu. We were often sometimes hurt in social environment, but we also heal in social environment. So when we're helping someone, we want to check in on what's their social support. What have you got? Who are your primary support people? Who can you call? Who's going to be with you? Someone put in horses, animals, huge, especially during COVID, but always horses, dogs, cats, birds. I mean, pet rabbits, riding horses in nature. But find out from these people, are these things that they do in social support? Who are their people? What is their situation? Is it their priest, their church, their ministry, their, so I find that's one of the most important things to identify is the social connection, or are they completely isolated? And if that's the case, maybe you can help them rebuild a social support system. God, yeah. Next slide. Again, this is for you to make in your journal notes, family, friends, spiritual, social connections. What is your social connection? Someone said riding with their daughters, horseback riding, but what is a gratitude journal, mindfulness meditation every day, beautiful, walking, praying, beautiful, Miriam. I have someone that I like to follow, Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And Elizabeth Gilbert has a gratitude jar. And she starts we could start today, but she takes a little piece of paper at the end of the day and she writes down one thing she's grateful for, and she folds it up and puts it in the jar. And she does that every day. And then New Year's Eve, she opens the jar and she reads all of those gratitude things. I've done that a whole year, and I had a big glass jar, and I just threw it in, and then it was beautiful reading them at the end of the year. And part of what I had in there was my social support, the things that the people that really helped me and cared for me. My SBRN is sort of like a support for me because we're all doing this work together. So they understand when I'm struggling. They get it. They know, okay, Gina, you might be doing too much, or let's pull this, so that's really important. And believe me, I do not want to burn out. I'll tell you right now, make a commitment to yourself. I am not burning out. And I feel it when it's happening. And I call people and I say, I can't do all this. I can't. As I've gotten older, I've gotten smarter about that. Okay, next slide. Number 7 is, again, just a little drilling down on the information on coping. We're going through these fairly quickly. They're not difficult to take in. You will get the slides. When you lose your humor, you're overloaded. That's so true. I just wanted to say again that we're giving you this information because a lot of times we've responded in disaster, and this was developed for dealing with disaster. So we want to kind of take a moment and say, okay, do they know anything about the fact that, you know, there's going to be some stress reactions to what's going on? I take a minute and I say, you know, considering what's going on for you right now, you may not be sleeping very well. You may be crying, you may be this. I kind of normalize the reactions. I kind of like tune them in and say, you know what, you're going to have a hard time, but that's okay. You're not alone, because we've created this sort of background. But just be aware that you're going to be struggling, and that's part of your reaction to this trauma. And at that point, you might give them some tips on things they can do. And this, it may not happen, all these things may not happen in one sitting, believe me. And they're just things to remember. And you may get back to them, and it might be the next time you speak to them. But you're kind of just filling them in. There's often a lot of rumors. You won't believe half of the time that we responded to mass incidents, there's a lot of rumors. And Saul is here on this call. Saul, hi. But, you know, we do a lot of youth, responding to youth crisis in the community. And, you know, if there's been a shooting or there's been this or a suicide, you know, we'll check in. And this has happened a few times with Saul and with our youth providers, is if things will get blown out of proportion. There's a lot of rumor. There's a lot of, oh yeah, this could be a gang related incident. We don't know, but people jump to conclusions. So when we say, we go in there, we say, I'm going to give you the facts that I know to be facts. The rest, I don't know. And it's okay not to know. But I just feel like that is one of the things that happens a lot when there's been a violent incident, is people want to know what happened. And sometimes we don't. I don't know if you have anything to add, so, but you don't have to, but there's rumor control, often rumor control. So basically the most important thing is information on coping. And for us, so what we're seeing is that it's okay to experience what you're experiencing. Like Anthony said, it's okay to not be okay. Increasing the awareness of what's going on. Don't judge yourself. And I think we should, right now, I think we're going to be taking a break very soon, but I would like you all to just tune into your body. And there's an acronym I use, STOP, which is stand up. Let's all just stand up for a minute. Just stand up for a minute. And tune into your body, like what's going on. Maybe just move your legs. Okay, stop. S, stand up. Tune into your body. You need to shake a little bit, or you need to roll your shoulders. Look around. Where are you? Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm not just on the computer. Observe your surroundings and be grateful. Well, I'm here. Thank God Gina's here with me. And possibility. Think about what is possible. Like maybe I'll make it to the end. I'll make it till noon. And possibly think about, you know, next steps and kind of taking a breath. And so we'll take an environment break, what we call an environmental break, in a moment. But people remember they often remember what they said to you, but you will never forget how they made you feel. Yeah. Mindfulness is very important. It's tuning into the moment. And I think that put reminders for yourself to tune in several times throughout the day. Okay. And then the last core action is linkages to services. You are not carrying this person. This is like one of the most important things to do with self-care. do not carry this alone. What you have, SBRN, we're here for you. There are other services here for you, but you want to be able to get them as best as we can, and sometimes it takes time to get them to services that are sensitive, culturally sensitive to their needs. And that's one of the things over the 12 years that fortunately we have a lot of linkages. I have several people on this call that I reached out to. I had a mother with 3 children who ended up homeless, and she literally was on the street with her 3 children. I made a bunch of calls and people rallied, and we were able to get her assistance. We're not alone. You don't have to solve it all yourself. So reach out, and these linkage services are really important. And you do a warm handoff. So here's number 8 for you. Identify where you can turn to. Know where and who you can turn to. Who do you trust? Who can you dump? Do you have a dump friend where you can just dump and they're not going to question? You might have a friend that helps problem solve. Oh, a warm handoff. A warm handoff, John, good question. A warm handoff is not just giving a person a phone number. For instance, when there's a death, hospice is a wonderful free service in our community. You can give them the hospice number, but they're going to get an answering machine or whatever. So what you're going to do is say, I would recommend that services with hospice, is that okay with you? And then if they say yes, then you call hospice and try to find the right person for them to call. There is a clinical person that they would call, and you would maybe let them know that John is going to be calling and this is the situation. So you're kind of prepping them. You can call with them. That's a warm handoff, but usually it means a linkage with someone at that agency, because it's daunting to call cold and people are afraid. Did that answer, John? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we are, let's see, what's our next slide, Ileana? How can you create a support system? I'd like to open this up and then we'll take a break. Is our break next, Ileana? Yes. Okay. So let's just unmute whoever wants to unmute, and let's go back to how do you create a support system? You know, I put this slide up and I didn't really know how to answer it. So I want you to unmute yourself and tell me, how can you create a support system? Anybody?
Sure, Jason Walker. I think one of the important things with creating a support network is, one, identifying friends or family that are inner circle that you know will hold space for you. And then 2, being transparent and authentic with them, being honest with them about your emotions. And I think that's where most of us tend not to. We have people who care, who will hold space, but we don't allow them to do that. So
that's beautiful. And I've just recently gone through this, because I'm going to be transparent. SBRN is being asked. I mean, we are all over the place. And I had to tune in to a few people and say, can you help me create some structures and some things to support me right now? Because this is beautiful. Everything's going right, but it's too much. So I had to be transparent with, like, hey, I can't do it all. I can't do it all. And that's kind of being transparent with your vulnerability. Are you willing to be vulnerable? Right? Is your name Jason? I'm sorry, I see you, but
yes,
it says
it's
Impact
Jason.
Ministry.
I would say the other the other side of that as well is being there for those that are close to us. Not just stepping away
Yeah.
when they're going through life storm, but leaning in and not just asking to help, but
Yeah.
coming up with ideas on how you can help. Hey, can I bring food to your house tonight? Can I
Yeah.
call you tomorrow to check back in on you? So thank you, Gina.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think it's, I've been in a lot of disasters as a nurse internationally, and it's, you know, it's the honesty. It's your, you're not trying to fix them instantly. You just want to be a listener. So sometimes I've not spoke one word to a family member who lost all of their family in mudslides, and I just sit with them. And if they let me touch them, I touch them, because I think haptics, the power of touch. And that's all for some people. And I think you guys have already expressed that, you know, honesty, and not saying I understand, because you might not. You know, I think it's, you can only
Yeah.
acknowledge where somebody's been if you've been there. But anyhow, that seems to
Yes,
be the,
we're going to
how-
talk about that after our break. Yes, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts and how to talk to people, because we do make some boo-boos, not out of ill will, but because of we don't, like you say, we don't understand.
yeah, and we do
Um,
things because we're
anyone
fearful. We
else?
don't want to fail, you know?
And we try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And you know what the right thing is? Vulnerability and honesty, and in your heart. And if you don't know, don't say anything. It's okay. And humor. Hurting people have a sense of humor. I trained, I mean, I come from the suicide background. 35 years I've been in suicide prevention, treatment, training. So, and I've worked with the best people in the world of suicide. And one of my dearest people was a man named Israel Orbach. He was from Israel. He has died. He died a few years ago. I miss him terribly. But he'd say, you know, you talk to the person, you find out what's hurting them. And you know what? They have a sense of humor too. Suicidal people have a sense of humor too. And, you know, it's not just being yourself. That's what they pick up on, the authenticity. It's okay. It's not about fixing them. Also, the beautiful thing about SBRN, which we'll talk more about after the break, you're not fixing people. You're not a therapist. You're not accountable as a therapist. You are a volunteer. We're covered by the Volunteer Good Samaritan Act. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that. You're just there as you. You're just there to offer support. You're not fixing them. You're not responsible for their outcome. They're adults. They're doing what they do. You're going to just help them on that journey.
This is Alice Perez.
And-
I'm not on video.
Oh, Alice.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Gina.
Alice, is your hubby there? Is your hubby there?
I'm just on mute. I'm not on video.
Yes, if I was here.
Yeah, Eddie is here too.
Okay.
I just wanted to say.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Gina.
I just wanted to say something I've been learning lately. I work in the jail with a program where we teach a lot of classes in the jail to men and women in custody there. But I've learned that I may want to, and I do have several different types of support networks. So when I think of my work family, the team that I'm blessed to work with, we've grown over the last 2 years to rely on each other for very specific support needs that we have, because we have to debrief together. We have to come and talk out and vent a little bit about what we're seeing and areas where we want to ask questions about the work. And then I have a family support network, like my siblings. I have several siblings I'm able to touch in with. And I go to them for very specific support needs that I have. And I have my spouse, and they're just, so I'm realizing late in life that there's several, interlocking systems of support. That's just, it's the more focused I am on understanding that and knowing what each network is there for, it's really life-changing for me. we have a Thursday night fellowship group that is a huge system of a support network for me. So that's, I mean, what an embarrassment of riches in that sense. But if we look deeply, I think we'd find we have systems of support in different spheres, and they all have this amazing role to play. Hopefully.
I love this, Alice.
Mhm.
I love this. Alice, I want to say something about that because I was going to talk about this at the end, and I will. I want SBRN to have a support system for us.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I want to talk about at the end.
Yes.
Is I want to create either a weekly or bi-weekly support system for us that are out there in the trenches.
Beautiful.
We need the support. Anonymous, like AA, whatever.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
just going to come and we help each other. So Alice and Eddie and Jason and all of you can help me set that up. And I'm going to start flooding my social media and my email saying, come to our support group because you need us and I need you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's brilliant.
Oh. So we'll talk about that after. Go pee, because you know what? When you get old, you gotta pee. And I gotta pee, man. You know, I'm a lady. And so I'll see you guys in what, Ileana? Should we give them what? Do you guys want 10 minutes or 5 minutes? Do you want 10 minutes? Okay.
10.
Let's come back at 11. Yeah, 10 minutes. Go have coffee, pee, whatever. See you soon.
Please mute yourself.
Ah, hi, everybody.
Hi, Gina.
Hi, Gina, you're back.
I'm
Thank you,
back.
God.
My bladder's happy. I'm here, and I want to make sure that everybody gets a certificate. I know we got your registration, but some people signed in late or through friends. So could you make sure so Ileana can get a certificate to you that you put right now before we start your name and your email? And then Ileana will get two things to you. We're going to get an evaluation survey out to you in the next day or so. Ileana's a student, so we want to be mindful of her. We're going to get a survey out to you, and we'll get a certificate out to you next week. Okay, thank you. Oh, look at Serena. She's got a beautiful hat. And you know, you're standing somewhere that it looks like there's a flower growing out of the top of your hat. Oh, it's a tree. Oh, it's great. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much for putting that in there. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts. We're going to be doing a little practicing together in a little while, so I'm going to go through these, I think, pretty quickly. The do's: be an empathic listener. That means you're listening with empathy, not sympathy. People know the difference. Sympathy, you feel sorry for somebody. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Empathy, you're kind of listening. You're empathic. You're putting yourself in their situation possibly and listening with that ear, which is one of learning and being open. Put yourself in shoes of the speaker. Listen for meaning, not just words. People use words. Oh, good, Anthony's back. People say a lot of things, but they often, they're experiencing something different. So trust your gut. A nice way to say that to someone is, I hear what you're saying, but I'm picking up that you're really sad. Am I right? You don't assume. Am I correct? I know you say you're really feeling okay, but I'm picking up that there's maybe some anger. I don't know. Am I right? Sort of like that. Am I right? I learned that from my colleague, Peter Fonagy, who worked with very violent youth. I mean, murderers, and they would be sitting in the room with him and they would say something and he'd go, I know what you're saying, but I'm picking this up, but I may be wrong. He said he had to protect himself. Paraphrase what the person is saying. It's similar to that. It's saying, I'm hearing, am I right? Just validating. Pay attention to nonverbal communication. Watch their body language. It's hard during COVID. We do the best we can. The don'ts, I think Anthony would be a good one for.
So when you're talking about the don'ts, you don't want to tell somebody not to feel bad, because you want to make sure that you're always validating somebody's feelings. Again, when you tell somebody not to cry, just out of personal experience, I was 5 years old. My dad died. They told me to shut up, suck it up, and deal with it, and not to cry. So that made it very difficult for me to learn how to express my feelings. So if somebody is, young, please allow somebody to cry, whether if they're an adult or not, but just give them that time. Never say it's God's will, because you don't want to bring religion into it, because you don't know if somebody's religious or not, and you don't want to offend anybody. And also, it could be worse. Well, honestly, how do you know? You don't know if it's good, if it could be worse. And please be careful when you say, at least you still have. This is something that can be very hurtful when they lose somebody. And to say that you at least still have this, well, that's not how they feel in the moment. And so you don't want to minimize their feelings again. And you don't want to hurt them, because the whole purpose of us providing psychological first aid for somebody is to be able to help them get through the difficult times, not make it worse. So just be very kind, be very attentive on the way that somebody's reacting, responding to you. Nonverbal communication is huge. So always keep that in mind.
Great. Next slide, Eliana. Thank you, Anthony.
Mhm.
What you can say, I'm sorry for your pain. I'm so sorry this happened. If it's all right, can I help you with? I can't imagine what this is like for you, because you can't. You're not them. And what is it that you need? What is it you need? In that Shakespearean play, I don't know if it's Hamlet, but the question was, what ails thee? What ails thee? That was the key to it could have been just, how can I help you? What ails thee? So next slide. Okay, so I'm going to touch briefly on the Compassion Center model, because we're going to have an opportunity to practice. I'm glad Anthony's back. So the Compassion Center model, and in the next slide is the Compassion Patrol. Anthony, please share this with me, because we're a part of developing this. This is trademark. This is something that by trademark as we developed it. When we were responding to Isla Vista, it was a huge response. And we came together, and with Dr. Gil Reyes, one of the founders of PFA, who was our ED at the time, he said, we have to come up with something that's going to be broad enough for the whole community. So we created these pop-up safe spaces called a Compassion Center. We had t-shirts created. Oh, we should put a picture of this, Eliana. It's on our website, of Anthony walking with the Compassion Center t-shirt and Compassion Patrol. But later we can put it up. The model was established in to be able to have a space all throughout Isla Vista. And we had spaces in the park, we had spaces at the Pardal, we had spaces at the IV Center, and people would come in and they would be able to just be with their feelings. We had trained volunteers there on a schedule. We often, when we do compassion centers with children in churches, for instance, we go to a lot of services, funeral services. We have art, we have supplies there to take the children off to be able to process. We separate the children from the adults and have, a safe space for the children. So it's basically they're being implemented whenever there's a mass event, a shooting, a suicide in a school. There'll be a safe space created in that school where the students can get off of their class. It's like, and they can come in and be with, and grieve and be with others at this Compassion Center. Next slide is the Compassion Patrol. And you have anything to say about that, Anthony?
Yeah, so the Compassion Patrol, what we did in Isla Vista is that we wanted to be able to just make a presence throughout Isla Vista during the difficult time, during the Isla Vista shooting, and just to say hi. They're non-intrusive, just very compassionate, and just making it noticeable that we were there to help them out whenever they felt that they needed it. And one amazing thing is that people don't forget. They don't forget. And there's about 5 years later, just recently, I had somebody recognize me from the Compassion Patrol. She remembered that we were walking around with the white t-shirts that said Compassion Patrol, and that we would just go up to them and just say hi and just check in with the businesses. We went out as teams, and it was very helpful, not just for us as responders, but for the community that we were helping. And that was Isla Vista during that time. So we created the Compassion Patrol, and it's been very successful. We've used it several times during a suicide, and also during a officer involved shooting that had happened. And we went around the community, just left information if anybody wanted to talk, or needed any resources, because there's so many different ways that we can be traumatized by an incident. But this was actually very comforting for people just to see us there, know that we were there and that they weren't alone. So it made a big difference.
You know, what was beautiful, Anthony, was when we responded to the Holzer family murder, we responded to two family murders, the Hahn family murder and the Holzer family murder. And it was in that neighborhood, those schools were traumatized both times. And so our compassion patrol, we realized that the neighborhoods had witnessed, actually seen the police come and remove the deceased. And we knew there was the sheriff's office called us and I said, you know, we need to go door to door. And they went, well, yeah, that's really interesting. Actually, it was Saul Lindver that suggested that. And so we got a letter from the sheriff because we didn't want to just be seen as some strange person. We had our t-shirts, but we also had a letter introducing us from the sheriff saying, this is the Santa Barbara Response Network. They're here if you need anything, and here's some resources. And we did that door to door. So what we do is we try to adapt our model to what's needed. That's why it's beautiful that way. We don't do this. It's not cookie cutter. We have never, ever done the same response twice. Never. Anthony and I and Ali and our senior responders will sit down and talk about what's most effective at that school, at that community center, the needs of that church, right? So, okay, next slide. I think we're going to go into the things to keep in mind, and then Anthony, you and I can do a role play, and then we'll go into breakout rooms, okay? So we never set up a compassion center or deploy unless we're invited. You don't just show up. We always respond in teams. We have the resources available to give a warm handoff, but most important, take care of yourself and don't burn out. We have a burnout slide, I think, next, but I think we've covered that pretty well. Yeah. Anthony, you want to say anything about that? That's about burnout? Or...
Yeah, so I'm at burnout. I mean, we're in the work that we're in because we want to be able to help others, right? We want to be able to support others. But the main thing is that we need to take care of ourselves in order for us to do that and to be able to be present in the moment. But, you know, burnout can definitely kill you prematurely. You know, just like I said, out of experience. So we have to take care of ourselves, pay attention to our physical signs, our emotional signs that we're getting tired. If we start bringing home all that stress, then it's time for us to reevaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it, and take some time for ourselves, because you guys are in this for a good reason. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that you guys are doing this and wanting to be there for your community, because it's key, and you guys are truly lifesavers for doing that. So, but you got to take care of yourself first. So just always keep that in mind.
Okay. Anthony, did you win an award?
Actually, you and I both won an award.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah, we
What
both
did I
won an
receive
award.
an award for?
Yours was for the work that you've done for Out of the Darkness Walk in support of our community. And then myself was for educating our community in suicide awareness and prevention, and for sharing my story. So yes, we both won an award.
Oh,
So thank you guys.
congratulations, Anthony. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're going to talk about the suicide walk again. Oh, thank you. Yes, we've been doing the suicide walk for years. And at the end of this, we're going to talk to you about ways you can get involved. And the suicide walk is definitely one of those that Anthony and I would really appreciate. He's the chair, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, Anthony, we're going to role play.
All right,
me
let's
and
do
you.
it. All right, let's do this.
And we're going to show them a little example, and then they're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to give you scenarios for you to practice with each other. Again, there's no right or wrong. Just make lots of mistakes. So Anthony, how about you be the victim? You're such a good one.
Oh.
So
I've been many times like that.
okay, so let's take the scenario. One of the scenarios we had was that there was a vehicle car terrible accident, let's say on 154 where I live, and you lost your, I'm not going to say this because that's too hard for you. But everyone in the car died except you.
Okay.
Okay, let's just do it like that. And so we got SBRN got called. Your family called saying that you needed, that possibly you needed some help, and you agreed for us to come to the home, and so I'm coming. Okay. Hi, Anthony.
Yes.
I'm Gina. Hi, Anthony. I'm Gina from the Santa Barbara Response Network. I think your cousin called us about the recent accident and your loss. And I just first of all wanted to ask you if it's okay if we spend some time
I really don't feel
together.
like talking right now.
No, completely. I can understand that. And I'm very sorry for your loss and for what you experienced.
Do you know how hard it is to be
And
the only one that survives? I don't get it. I should have been gone too.
yeah. But you're here. You're here. And I'm here with you right now. And I wanted to just let you know that you don't have to speak. I can just sit here with you and be with you. And together, maybe we can get through this day and just see how you might be able to feel less of that burden you feel.
And who are you with again?
I'm with the Santa Barbara Response Network. We're volunteers that help individuals like yourself and families that have gone through a trauma or a loss. And we're just volunteers. We're here because we help in the community. And we can help you to find resources or see what it is that we can assist you with right now. If that's okay with you, I'll just sit with you for a little while.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Anthony.
Mhm. So just keep in
So-
mind that I actually want to say something, but just keep in mind that not every single time somebody's going to speak with you. Also, just because somebody doesn't speak with you doesn't mean that you're not making a difference. You being there and you not leaving somebody alone makes a huge difference, whether they talk to you or not. But just knowing that somebody is there, you're definitely saving a life, without a doubt, because that's kind of where things lie, is that you don't want to feel like you're going to get through all this or attempt to get through it by yourself. Just knowing somebody's around you that is willing to be there when you're ready is huge. So always keep that in mind. Gina?
And before we go into the scenarios, if anybody, what do you think was effective in what I did or not effective? You can put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Oh, that's beautiful, Sue. Your granddaughter offered hugs to people in the community.
Not saying that you know how he felt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's huge, because you don't really know. You
Yeah.
just can assume, but just being there and not minimizing those feelings is huge. So thank you, Christina, for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Great. Great. Allowing time to listen to what he's saying before responding. I would say you're absolutely right on. Slow, thoughtful. One of the things, because we're anxious, we talk too much. And like Anthony said, you don't have to even talk. You can, and we're uncomfortable with silence.
And also maybe not making it about you. It's not your
Yeah.
time, it's their time.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely. So you could just keep saying, I'm here. Anthony did a response at the beach. There was a death at the beach a few years back. And
Oh, yeah.
Anthony ended up sitting with that fellow for what, hours? He never
It
said a
was-
word.
Yeah, it was literally hours. I mean, we received a call. Gentleman had just saw his brother die. He found his brother hanging, and so the family told us that he was at the beach. So we went to the beach. Well, actually, I went to the beach, and he was by himself. I just approached him from the front, not from the back, and just introduced myself. And he just didn't want to talk, and I just said it was okay. And I just asked for permission if I was able to sit with him. And he said, as long as he didn't have to talk to me, then that was fine. Well, it was literally hours into just sitting there. And the next thing out of nowhere, he just turned around and looked at me and just said, you know what? Nobody ever asked me how I felt. Nobody asked me, how I was doing. Everybody just wanted to know how come I didn't do anything? It was not my fault, and I just listened. And from that day, I learned something because he's the one that told me that finally nobody was bugging him about the wrong reasons. Somebody was just there just in case that he needed somebody. And he said, thank you for not leaving him alone. And that made a huge difference. I thought I didn't do anything, but in reality, he taught me that, you don't have to really say anything just to be there for somebody. And it was a huge difference. And till this day, I have to plant my feet down on the ground when I see him, because he just runs up to me and gives me a big old hug. And he usually tries to knock me down. But it's great. It's an honor to be able to be there. And yeah, I didn't try to fix it because I know I can't fix it, even though I would love to, but I can't do that. And silence is very uncomfortable, but silence is good because it also gives you an opportunity to be able to think about how you want to respond, so you respond correctly and confidently. And yes, thank you. Yeah, didn't want to give him advice because I can't. All I can do is say, I'm going to be there for you, and I am.
And you're just there at that moment, and you can't even promise the future.
Yeah.
But just
and also
it goes a long way. It's powerful.
Also, just so you know that if there's something that might have is a little difficult in regards to scenario, you can pass that scenario to somebody else. Just so you know, and just be upfront with it, because we're here all as a team and as a community. So just make sure that we all are there for each other, because some of these scenarios might hit close to home. So just be very respectful towards that. And it's okay to say that you might pass on a scenario. It's totally understandable. But just know that after this course, we're still going to be online to talk about whatever it is that we can do for you. So just know that we are here. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. So we're gonna, if you go back to the scenarios for a sec, Liliana. So we're gonna break out into breakout rooms. Each breakout room will have 3 people. And each of you will have an opportunity to be the person that's impacted, the person that's offering the support, the PFA support, and then someone who's like just keeping track of time and just any notes, any feedback. It's not a right or wrong, but just things you notice that worked or that could have been a little more effective, just so that when we come back to the big group, we can process all of that, what we learned. So each of you will pick, when you go into it, pick one of these scenarios and then switch. We'll give each of you 5 minutes per scenario. So it'll be 15 minutes and then 5 minutes at the end for processing in your group. So you'll be in that group for 20 minutes in your small breakout room for 20 minutes. The things to keep in mind in the chat will be the core action and the scenario. And just that this will also be in there, what to keep in mind, what core actions did you apply? How are you feeling? Check in on how you were feeling. And what would be helpful to you in this situation? Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we go into the breakout rooms?
There is a question from Rachel. Can you answer that question before we go into the break rooms, please?
Dora, you were breaking out. What was the question, Dora?
There's a question from Rachel. It says, what is a good response if someone asks for advice?
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So when someone asks for advice, then that they're giving you an opportunity to say, because they want to hear something. But just remember that it's okay to answer those questions, but you want to make sure that you always bring it back to them because you're there for them. You don't want to take much of their time that you want to assist them. So for example, if somebody asked me, so what did you do when your dad died? Well, you know, I cried, you know, I had a hard time. I had to do it by myself in a little corner, but it was very difficult, but you know, having somebody there for me made a difference. So what do you think that you can do? You know, bring it back to them, you know, because you want to make sure that you're assisting them as much as possible. But you can answer those questions. You know, you have to, honestly, to be honest with you, with this work, I've learned to be honest with myself, because I don't want to go and try to assist somebody and lose their trust, because once I lose their trust, I've lost them. So I'm always very honest about something. Don't promise something that you can't keep. And if you don't know, then it's okay to let them know that you don't know, that you can probably get the information, but just be honest, because once you lose them, you can't assist them. They won't have that confidence in you and trust in you. So the trust and confidence is extremely important. So always keep that in mind. And it's okay to say that no to a response. It's okay to say that you're not comfortable with the response. That in that way you're helping the person that needs the help, because you're not gonna try to be something that you're not. And especially with teens, they're really quick on picking that up. So you have to be honest. You have to be you know, sincere about how you feel and why you're there. So just keep that in mind. And an indication.
So as we go into breakout,
I'm sorry, I just want to answer this question. Well, what's an indication that you've lost somebody? The demeanor changes in the stance. You know, body language will be a huge indicator. Also, depending on a person, it will be a verbal indicator. They'll ask you to leave and that they don't want to talk anymore. But again, always pay attention to that nonverbal communication. That's key. Okay, go ahead, Gina.
Thank you. So Ileana, I have a housekeeping question. Do we have enough for threes for everybody? Are there any groups that might need four? You can unmute.
Yeah, I just kind of split it so 3 people in each one. So hopefully that works out. I'm making 15 breakout rooms.
Okay. Perfect. And can Anthony and I move around, or are we in a breakout room?
You should be able to move around since you're co-hosts.
So we can move around? Okay, great. Okay, and you've got everything in the chat so they can go have, you know, enjoy.
I had to put my picture on because I had to eat my cereal. Oh, shoot, my bad. Everybody's coming back.
Hola. Hola, gente. Osito. Hi, everyone. Is everyone back?
Yes.
Slowly.
Yes, thank you.
That was awesome. Awesome. Okay. Wow. I was really fortunate to be in a group. My two folk in my group were amazing. Thank you. Okay, let's open it up. Let's just see. Yeah, unmute. Let's open it up. What worked? What did not work? What core
My name
actions
is
did you
Arlena.
use?
My name is
Yes.
Arlene, and I had some beautiful ladies that were so great. They taught me what you guys have been teaching us, how to respond. And the most important key that I learned from them sharing is that saying who we're from, the Santa Barbara Respawn Network. You know, we forget that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Except running up all over there, jumping on them and asking them how they're doing and all that kind of stuff, to show them there is support out there. That really got me. It really did. So my ladies did so good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a big shout out there for Susan, Ina. Suze, oh my gosh, she did such a wonderful job role playing. She had me in tears and she was in tears. I was like, wow, yeah, there she is. Suze, you did an amazing job. So just shout out to them. It was a beautiful exercise and they're just awesome.
Thank you too, Jason.
I ditto my group. Jason and Ina was great. You guys were great.
Suze, I'm still wiping tears out of my eyes. So.
I was crying thinking of it.
This is Alice, and I was with Maylee and Lloyd, and I felt really immersed in the whole thing, whatever role I was in, whether I was the listener or the victim or the volunteer. And I just want to thank you for the scenarios and the exercise, and thank my team. I learned a lot in it, and it was very valuable. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alice. Laura asked if James wanted to share. Thank you, Alice. That was beautiful. Thank you for the words. I don't know if James wants to share. It's optional, of course.
My name's Hannah. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Is that okay? I was with Elise and Chastity. They both did a great job, very present. You know, said that we don't have to talk if we don't want to. And something that Chastity did that I thought was really great, because I was the survivor in that scenario, is that she said, would you like to take some deep breaths with me? And that was really helpful. And they were both very responsive. So the deep breaths thing I thought was really great.
I ditto that with my group. I was with Allison and Carmelita. And the thing that I got out of it was the focus on the senses. When we went for a walk, or they went for a walk, and they were saying, oh, I can smell, can you smell that, those flowers? Or look, oh my God, the sun is so, you know, they were just bringing the senses in while they were walking. I thought that was really powerful to bring that, to share that experience. So thank you. And they were both very attentive, tuned in, slowed down, kind. Yeah, so thank you. I really appreciated that.
I'd like to share in my group, one of the things that Ina did was she asked questions of things that were precious in my life besides my husband that I lost. And as she did that and was patient, it's like humor does. It takes you away from the pain when you have other beauty in your life. I don't know. I thought that was a really good tool. And it was obvious by her tone and her pace that she was very empathetic, and she would say, I'm very sorry. And I slowly just kind of let my guard down a little bit to allow my feelings. So then I cried.
Crying is good. Crying is good.
And the one thing we did encounter, the one thing we did encounter, this is Ina, you know, there was these pauses and silent moments because one, you know, sometimes you don't know what to say. And to me, it's
better to be quiet and then see if Suze is going to say something. And then I was also waiting to see if Jason would jump in. There's those moments where, yeah, there's nothing you can say to make it better. So I just stayed silent and then would think of something else to say.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, you did such a good job. I thought you were a pro. That's why I had to
You
ask.
did.
Been doing this for a while. Did really well.
I did have a question.
Yes.
So in my group was Arlene and Peg said that she is skilled in like medical services. And so she asked, can she, you know, take a look at the leg, my leg, and then she asked, you know, is it like a dual service? Can I, you know, like do two things? And I said to her, well, the focus is, you know, the individual, and to have your partner contact the emergency services if they're available. But what if they're not available, you know, at that time? Is it like a liability if somebody has those, you know, has that skill?
So I guess here's one thing. So I guess it would depend what role you're actually in, right? So if you're working as an emergency services person, that's going to be your primary role, right? Because you have to make sure that we make that difference. But if you're working as SBRN, you also have to stay in that role. So you have to maintain the lane, but you can in a certain way, in a non-intrusive way, you can combine them, because in regards to medical services, emergency medical services, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to help somebody out. So if you're working as an EMT, example for myself, I worked as an EMT back in the days. When I would go on a response, I wanted to make sure that that person was comfortable while they're in the back of my rig, right? So even though I was helping them medically, I was making sure that, you know, they were attentive, you know, making sure that they're, you know, they were with me, but also listening to them, because that also calms them down during the medical response. So you can combine those two, but when you're working as an SBRN person or volunteering as an SBRN, that's when you have to kind of maintain your lane, because since we are a nonprofit and we only do what we are trained to do as a responder for SBRN. So I hope that kind of clarifies it. But you know, as emergency response, that's what we do.
Yes, and I'm clear on that, and I understood that. So I did say something to that effect as well.
Yeah.
But thank you very much.
No, thank you for your question. Appreciate that.
Great question. We're going to move on just because I'm conscious of time, and I do want to honor everybody's time. We may go a few minutes over, but I wanted to just share some of the projects that hopefully from here you would want to continue your involvement in whatever way makes sense. And of course, that's optional. These trainings to us are how we can train the community to be a PFA informed community. So this is part of our goal. We offer this training in English, Spanish, and soon to be in Mixteco. And we have projects under us. Bienestar Latinx is Ali's project for bringing equity, mental health services to the community. The Lost Art of Love Letters, Sandra Weiss's project, where she uses letter writing and art as a vehicle of expression for healing. We did a tremendous amount of work after the debris flow and the fires, and that is one of our projects. We're going to open up a monthly volunteer, I would say PFA support group. So stay tuned for that, because we really do want to offer that, and we will bring in speakers also to offer support. The other project, and Ileana, you might want to talk a little about, every Thursday we're at Alameda Park. We'll probably be at other homeless or shelterless locations offering Compassion Center support. We did a training specifically for that, which was recorded. But if you want to be involved with that, Ileana keeps the schedule for that, and we are open to volunteers. Do you want to say anything, Ileana, about that project? Or did I cover it?
Yeah, you covered it. We're looking for volunteers from 4 to 7. Yeah, anytime like 4 to 5:30, 5:30 to 7, anytime in between. But we also always go in pairs, so you'll always be there with somebody. But it's pretty new. This week will be our 3rd week, and it's been really great so far. So definitely, if you're looking to volunteer, it's a really good opportunity.
And the project was named after Father John Hedges. So Gina, you want to give the name, please?
Yes, we're getting our t-shirts made. It's the Father John Hedges Outreach Project.
Oh, that's
in
great.
honor of our very dear friend and responder, Father John, who's been with us since the beginning, 12 years.
I have a question. My name is Arlene. Is it only just Santa Barbara area? Because you know Santa Maria is considered Santa Barbara too.
Oh yeah, actually we are planning to we're working with somebody in Santa Maria to create a team up there and train a team up there because it's definitely needed. Absolutely. So we just looking for some leads that can support that. But we are willing and wanting to support that. So right now we're working with someone else to be able to assist that and facilitate that. Yes.
Okay, when you guys do get the Santa Maria project going, how do we get it if we want to get involved in it too?
We'll get in touch with you. Ileana, make a note that Arlene is in Santa Maria.
Yeah,
and we'll
from Santa Maria. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye.
Also, the suicide walk in September, it's an Out of the Darkness suicide walk. I think we'll probably do it in person this year. I'm not sure, Anthony, but we do need volunteers to help at Ledbetter Beach. It's to honor those we have lost to suicide, and particularly to offer support to the families who are left behind.
It's definitely a huge event, and we definitely need more support. To be on the committee to get this going again, because obviously COVID, we took a really big hit. I don't want us to lose this opportunity to continue to have this walk here. Yes, it's definitely on a weekend. We're trying to get it on a Saturday instead of a Sunday, but it's early in the morning. We're done by noon, and it's an amazing walk. It's not a far walk. The whole purpose of this walk is basically to be there to support the families, to honor the ones that we have lost to suicide, and then for our community members to be able to get information on how to prevent, how to get support for somebody that might be struggling with thoughts of suicide. And again, I'm a 3-time suicide attempt survivor, and I usually give a talk on my experiences and other stuff. So it does mean a lot to the families. And if I can have your support of you guys being there to support this event, it would be huge, because the families seeing others there, it supports them so much knowing that they're not alone. So the presence of you being there makes a difference. If you want to get involved, you can go ahead. I'll have Ileana put up my email so you guys can reach out to me, and I'll get you guys on the list. But you don't have to raise money, but it's good to raise money, but you don't have to raise money. You can create a team for free. And it's an amazing experience. So I hope you guys will be participating this year.
Yeah, and also Anthony, we need support with outreach and creating teams and just supporting the walk being created. So we have committees. So please get involved. It's really a really wonderful expance.
What's the date?
And then we're going to need some,
the
it's
date
September. I don't know if they set a date yet.
Yeah, we're shooting for the 3rd week of September. The 3rd Saturday of September. That's my goal.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So we'll send out an announcement to the mailing list to get you information. And we are going to need some new members on our board. So if anybody wants to serve on the SBRN board, some of our members are timing out. And so we're recruiting for the board. So please let us know. It's not a large commitment. We meet once a month. And it's a very supportive, caring. We have Allie's on our board. Cassie is here today. She's on our board. Anthony's on our board. It's a great team. So next slide. Okay, wanted to talk about how we're protected. Somebody asked that question, very important. We are covered under the Volunteer Protection Act and the Good Samaritan Law. We are uncompensated volunteers in acts of, if an act is, if we operate within our scope, and we're doing PFA, we don't go outside our area of expertise, then we're covered. In the Good Samaritan Law, no person who in good faith and not for compensation renders emergency care at the scene of an emergency shall be liable. So we're there in good stead as volunteers, not as licensed professionals. So we're covered in that way. Next slide. These are ways you can support. People ask how they can support SBRN. Please be a volunteer. If you enjoy this, we'll put you on our volunteer list, serve on our board, become a trainer. We're going to be doing a train the trainer. If you're interested in training, we're going to send out an evaluation where you can put in what you want to do. Follow us on social media. We do a Facebook Live once or twice a week, English and Spanish. We have our interpreter here, Elise. Hi, Elise, who does Spanish interpretation. And support our trainings. And you can go to our website and make a donation. Everything is done for free. This training is offered for free. If you care to make a donation, we're very happy for that. It just helps us to keep going. And then we want to say a shout out to our donors over the many years that have offered us grants and individual donors. And we're totally supported by donations and donors. And thank you. Our next slide. We'll open it up to answers, to questions, what you need going forward. Here's our contact information. But I'd just like to thank you all for your time in this Saturday morning, now noon. And we'll just open it up. Thank you. And open it up for comments, questions.
Actually, I just want to let everybody know that there's an app, which is called PFA app, but you got to make sure it's the green one from the National Child Trauma Network. That one is an excellent app, and that's actually what we as Santa Barbara Response Network are trained as and under from Dr. Robert Macy and Dr. Gil Reyes. So that app is an excellent resource. It's a good guide if you have any questions or concerns or thoughts or not sure how to handle something. It has some very good information, but that's the training that we go. You have to make sure it's the PFA green. It's a green little logo. And it's excellent to have in your back pocket. It's a perfect tool.
You can get it on Google, on the App Store, right, Anthony?
Yeah, App Store or Google Play, either one. But it has some very good information. It even gives you self-care tips. It's a great resource to have. So you might want to just think about downloading that app. It's a great app. And then ours, obviously, on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You make that phone, if the phone number will go directly to me, I answer the phone. If anybody has any questions, concerns, need some support, know that we are there to support you guys in any way that we can. Gina?
Thank you. Yes, I want to have people come to our monthly meetings. I've thought that I would ask Gil Reyes and Robert Macy, who are still there as available to us, to come and pop in and have you guys ask questions. They're amazing resource of understanding psychological trauma response. But we'll have other people, we'll have some of you folks come and share your work.